Welcome to another episode of The Canon. I'm your host, Terry, and today, doing my rankings for the MCU, all 22 movies. I've done my ranking, different places, just posting it. But, that's kind of no context with it. Everybody's just kind of, here's my list. And that's cool. That's definitely cool. I'm going to put my list up. But I just want to have a little chance to kind of, speak a little bit about each one. So not going to hopefully take too long with each movie, but they're kind of broken up into categories for me. So we're going to start bottom to top. We're going to start with the You Tried section, and number 22 in that section is Iron Man 3. You know what? This group to me is just all bad. But when I really thought about it after I put it together, I'm like, Iron Man 2 probably should be down there. But they're both offensive. The thing with Iron Man 3, Shane Black style, it didn't fit. This whole idea of what they tried to do didn't fit. And again, it's all subjective. I'm not telling you the facts. I'm just telling you, for me, when Tony's house gets blown up on national television and none of the Avengers show up, that's an issue for me. The PTSD thing was kind of a good angle, but the whole Mandarin thing, it was just not for me. Thor: The Dark World, holy crap. I just, I mean, the stuff on Asgard wasn't horrendous. You got the scene with Loki and the, cell learning about his mom's death and all that. And so that stuff's not horrendous, but man, everything else, it was just not funny. It wasn't a good story, and I didn't like the first Thor that much, so I was already just tuned out. Iron Man 2, you know what? It's so funny because I was so hyped for that movie, like a lot of us was, and I've watched it so many times afterwards because I just cannot understand what's bad about this movie. Like, I like Terrence Howard better as Rhodey, but Don Cheadle wasn't bad. I mean, you got, I forgot his name, but he played Justin Hammer. He's an Oscar winner. And so you had, Mickey Rourke as Whiplash, who I thought had a real good gravitas and feel to him. I don't know. I think at the end of the day, Whiplash plan just didn't make much sense. I mean, I understood the motivation, but then he just randomly shows up at a race car track. Then he goes to work with Hammer and the bird. I don't know. Something about that movie just does not work. And I would like to find out one day what it is. But anyway, so then number 19, you got Thor. And I watched Thor very recently, that and Captain America, to try to give it a second chance, cause I haven't watched them since back in the day. And Thor it didn't hit it. It didn't know its stride. The MCU didn't know Chris Hemsworth as Thor yet. He was so much better in Avengers. Like, it is miles better in Avengers. And his interaction and interplay with everybody was just so much better. The first Thor, it just didn't understand what they had yet. And kind of like Iron Man 3, where he spends most of the movie finding out who he is without the suit. People just don't want to see that. And I mean, not saying that I don't, but if you got to do it really well to make it work, but to do it as your first movie, nah, I wouldn't do that. And so you had so much of Thor without the hammer or being Thor, and this was supposed to be our introduction. I'm like, I don't want to see him walking around New Mexico. So and then the end fight against that machine, it was just like, whatever. So anyway, moving on to the not offensive category, we got number 18, Incredible Hulk. You know what? The only thing about this movie, or the two things about this movie that hold it back, is the CGI is going to be dated. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But Edward Norton, to me, wasn't as good as Eric Bana, and none of them are good as Mark Ruffalo. So, I mean, a lot of people might like him, but I didn't feel like Edward Norton played a good Bruce Banner to me. I didn't feel it at all. And so everything else, though, I kind of like, but also it's just not really part of the MCU. I mean, up until Civil War, there was almost nothing from that movie in the MCU to connect it, besides the Hulk, but it's a different Hulk. So, I would say it's definitely not offensive. But it's not one of my favorites. 17, Captain Marvel. I mean, It's all right. Again, it's not offensive. It's not terrible. There's some redeeming qualities with Samuel L. Jackson, definitely. Kind of the idea of the Skrulls being good guys. I don't know, but a lot of stories kind of trash, to be honest. Ant-Man at 16. I don't know. I like T.I., I like his crew. I like Paul Rudd. I like the Pims. It's just, I don't know. The movie just felt like whatever, especially when it happens, because it's like in the middle of that Avengers whole thing. So, or like the time that the movie came out. So it's just like whatever. I mean, it's kind of like Ant-Man and Wasp. Both had the similar issue. They just feel like they're shoehorned in there. And so if it wasn't an MCU movie, this might have played a lot better. But when you have to rank it against the pantheon of these other movies, it's just like not important. It's funny, but not hilarious. And Ant-Man's like, okay, he's pretty cool, but he's not amazing or anything. And the story's just okay. So I like the story better in Ant-Man and the Wasp, seeing him more as a father and all these different things. Seeing, the Pims involved more during the quantum realm. I thought they were more inventive, and it was just a step up with Ant-Man and the Wasp. The first one was just, solid. So none of these movies I'm mad at. They're not offensive. And then the category after that does the job. So then you got 14 Captain America, the first Avenger, which again, if I would have did this a few months ago, this would have been a lot lower. But again, I rewatched the first Captain America and the first Thor, because I get them a lot of crap, but a lot of people like them. And so I would say Captain America improved for me pretty decently, not drastically, but pretty decently. I'm like, you know what? It's cool. One thing with Captain America, the first Avenger, when I did see it the one time back in the day, I was like, not a good movie for me, but Chris Evans is definitely Captain America. He is, and then Avengers solidified that 100%. So I was just wondering how was Johnny Storm going to do as Captain America, and he really pulled it off. He showed the body transformation. He showed that he could get big, and but his acting is just, he really fell into this idealistic hero, and I loved it. So definitely does the job. Guardians of the Galaxy, I was not a huge fan of it like everybody else. I feel the way about Guardians 2 that everybody feels about Guardians 1, and we'll get into that in a minute. But Guardians, to me, it was cool. It was cool, and I watched it right before I went to see the premiere of Guardians 2, so I've seen it recently, and yeah, I'm like, it's kind of happenstance how they get together. It's a fun ride. It definitely pushes the narrative forward with Thanos and, introducing Nebula, Gamora, all that stuff. It does the job. I guess that's the best way to put it. 12, Spider-Man Homecoming. Man, I don't like how much Spider-Man is tied to Iron Man overall, not just this movie, in the MCU period. Even looking at the trailers from Far From Home, I like, this Spider-Man will never be as good to me as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, because Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was the guy. This Spider-Man is such a beta. He's just a fish in the sea. And so it's just like, okay, I mean, he's good. I love Tom Holland. Love him. I love Ned. I think, their dynamic is the best we've seen out of anything. And it's a funny movie. It's smart in a way in how they changed the villains, but still, I didn't like that. As a person that likes grounded stuff, I don't like how they changed the villains to some random junkyard guys that all got together and made these weapons. Like, it just completely killed what the Spider-Man villains were. And so, not a big fan of that, but I like Michael Keaton's performance. But at the end of the day, what was it about? It was just like this dude stealing to help his family that was already well off. And what? Okay, Spider-Man trying to save a plane with some Iron Man stuff on it. So, I don't know. The stakes weren't that big. It was okay. Avengers Age of Ultron. Oh, the great disaster. It should have been good. I think at the end of the day, my biggest gripe, because there's a lot of good stuff in Age of Ultron. My biggest gripe is Ultron. Like, the first trailer that they put out. Oh, I thought Ultron was going to be my Thanos before I knew what Thanos was going to be. I thought he was going to be this menacing top 10 villain that would push Joker. And I'm like, look, you got, and I'm blanking on his name, the voice, but that voice, the actor with that voice, and you had like Ultron with all his capabilities to be super smart, as smart as Tony, but also can, control technology and stuff. I'm like, and it's like this mirror image of Tony, and they never get into it. They just throw it out there like, hey, father, or hey, son, or, you want to be like Tony. And it's just like, they made this weird father-son dynamic they never set up. Ultron just came out of nowhere. They ran a program. He came out of nowhere. Oh, what is this? I'm alive. Oh, I'm gonna kill Jarvis. And it was weird. I just feel like they fumbled Ultron. Number 10, Doctor Strange. You know what? This might have been one that should have been in the other category. Cause it is in the top 10. And I think Doctor Strange more than does the job. Doctor Strange is such a different movie. I mean, I guess I feel the way some people feel about Guardians, where it's like Doctor Strange introduced a whole new level to the MCU, but the performances, I mean, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, I could listen to her all day, be ancient and wise. You got Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordu. Oh, he was good. And then Benedict Cumberbatch, who probably was my third favorite out of those three, but still really strong. I mean, you just saw this real Iron Man type arc where he was way more douchier than he was pretty up there. He was real douchey. And I just think he played broken down so well. Like you really felt the fall of grace. And that's one I could really watch over and over. It's kind of a fun movie. So, yeah, that might have need to go up. So anyway, good stuff. Number 9, we got Avengers Endgame. Yes, the granddaddy of them all, or technically the infant of them all. I don't know. But anyway, the culmination of the MCU. And so yes, a lot of people are saying it's their best, favorite, all this. Look, I have a bunch of topics about Endgame if you want to know my feelings. It was good as a culmination. As just, actually grading the movie, there's issues with it, but you can't deny the epicness of it. It is the most epic comic book movie we ever had. A lot of culminations, a lot of callbacks, a lot of fan service, a lot of cool things. Thanos honestly puts this movie in this category for me, because without him, it might not even be in the top 10, but a very good movie. 8, Thor Ragnarok. Hilarious. Rewatched that one recently too. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's crazy how funny that movie is. Like, we're not even talking comic book movies. We talking about pure comedies. This beats a whole bunch of comedies. And I loved what they did with everything for the most part. Except, I didn't like Hela dying so quick and Serta. And the whole Ragnarok story kind of being, I don't know, they integrated it well. It was just a little weird, but honestly, the Planet Hulk infusion, Kate Blanchett as Hela, oh my God. I mean, the comedy, the colors. Yeah, it's a shame they retconned everything they did with Thor. But anyway, number 7, Black Panther. Again, I mean, one of my favorite movies. But this list is movie quality in my own favorite, opinion. So I can't put it like super high because I definitely have issues with the movie. But one of the movies that I enjoy the most, I mean, you want to talk about importance. You want to talk about impact. You want to talk about being different and introducing a whole new world. Yeah, I mean, hats off to the world building. Captain America Civil War, number 6. Oh man, I go back and forth with this because you know what? it was a movie that should be higher, but I've had my issues. I got a video out there as well, plot holes in Civil War, but as Endgame has shown me, most fans don't care, but I do. I mean, we all grade movies differently with different importance. My number one importance is story. I noticed those things. And so there's some serious plot holes in it that hold it back, but man, there's some great stuff. And Zemo is weak as hell. But other than that, it's some great stuff, especially since I've been rewatching it since home release. Like some great stuff in that movie. So definitely it ended up towards the top of the list, but it should be higher. But you know, it is what it is. All right, now we're getting to the elite level, the top 5. Elite. Number 5 is Iron Man, the one that started it all, and there's that respect, but also it's a great movie. And I talked about this recently with my story to MCU. You couldn't have the MCU without this movie being great. Not just good, not just okay. It had to be great. It had to show a level of quality that comic book movies didn't have at the time. Until later that summer with Dark Knight, but it holds up. It's a great portrayal. I mean, it's just cool. It's just cool. It's before the world was full of superheroes. It was just this guy, like with all this cool technology, it was a lot of money and being smart that was, you know, got his gadgets and wanted to become a hero. It was fun to go on that journey. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Oh my God, I love this movie. I love this movie. It was in my top 10 of that year. I mean, I could sit here all day. I'll just say the emotional strings and levels that it went to was way deeper to me than the first Guardians. And so I knew Guardians could be funny and joke with each other. I knew it was going to be some space action, but this movie showed a whole nother level that I didn't think Guardians would get to. Like the stuff with Gamora and Nebula. Like I see a lot of people like, yeah, man, Nebula was cool in Endgame. I'm like, man, y'all should have been watching Nebula. Nebula and Gamora scene where they just, I can't even talk about it. All right, number 3, Captain America, Winter Soldier. You want to talk about a bounce back, because not even just me, a lot of people weren't excited by the first Avenger, Captain America. It was like, okay, we weren't here for this time period piece, but, Captain America Winter Soldier took it to a new level, brought us the Russos, of course, who ended up taking over for good reason. This was on a new level. It's not better than Dark Knight, but it's in that category where this might as well not even be a comic book movie. But the action in this movie is bar none. I've seen all the, MCU movies. There's not an MCU movie with action better than this. None. At all. No debate. So number 2 is the OG Avengers. Hey, it changed the world, man. It changed the world. It really solidified. It made the MCU, like I say, you have this whole story about Iron Man, how it started, but then there's the story about Avengers and how it made it a must-see cinematic universe. And it's all thanks to Avengers. The interplay is great. The dialogue is great. You set up a lot of relationships that we see continue on throughout the MCU. A lot of dynamics. It's just, yeah, man. Great movie. And number 1, Infinity War. Woohoo! I'm trying to think, what could I say about Infinity War? Well, only thing I'll say is it's about 2.5 hours. And a lot of people like 3 hours Endgame. Oh my God. And even me, I'm like, I've seen Endgame twice and I'm struggling to go see it again. But 2.5 hour movie, Infinity War. Since I got this movie on home release, I've probably seen that movie, I don't know. I mean, it's gotta be close to 50 times. I've watched that movie so much, not in its entirety, but like a good chunk of the movie, or I'll pick up, or I'll go to some favorite scenes. I can't take my eyes off it. Like it's so much balancing that I think kind of tips over the scale in Endgame at the end, to be honest. But there's so much balancing done well. There's so many facets to it, but then the connective tissue is Thanos. Thanos is just an amazing villain. And I love that movie. So anyway, those are my 22 MCUs ranked. Go to the comment section. Let me know yours. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up. Subscribe. And if you heard it here, it's official canon.